There are days when you wake up and you can feel it in your body before you even name it. Your mind is heavy, your chest is tight, the smallest task sounds like a mountain. You don't feel inspired, you feel hungry for success, and you definitely don't feel like doing the thing you promised yourself you would do. And then the guilt shows up. Not because you didn't try hard enough, because you care, because somewhere inside you, you still want a better life than the one that gets built by accident. I want to tell you something straight, and I want you to hear it without shame. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not missing motivation like it's a rare vitamin you forgot to take. What you're experiencing is something deeply human. The brain's instinct to protect energy, avoid discomfort, and then chase quick relief when the future feels far away. But here's the part nobody says clearly enough. Discipline is not a feeling. Discipline is not a mood. It's not a personality trait you're either born with or not. Discipline is a method, a set of simple switches you can flip even when you don't feel like it. I didn't understand that for a long time. I used to believe discipline was something strong people had and weak people didn't. I looked at the consistent ones. People who worked out even when they were tired, who studied even when they were bored, who built businesses or skills day after day, and I assumed they had some kind of inner fire that never went out. Meanwhile, my own drive came in waves. When I felt excited, I was unstoppable. When I felt empty, I disappeared. I would make promises with confidence and break them quietly. And each time I broke them, it wasn't just a missed habit. It felt like a small crack in my self-respect. That's when I learned the real cost of inconsistency. It's not the lost results. It's the lost trust in yourself. So I started watching my own patterns like a scientist, not a judge. I paid attention to the moments I failed, not to punish myself, but to understand what was really happening. And what I found was surprisingly consistent. I didn't need motivation. I needed a system that could carry me on days when my emotions refused to cooperate. Because emotions are not reliable leaders. They change with sleep, stress, hormones, weather, conflict, dopamine, and 100 invisible things. If you wait until you feel ready, you will spend half your life waiting. And I know you already know that. You've lived it. And you've seen what it feels like to start again so many times that starting doesn't even feel exciting anymore. It feels exhausting. This audiobook is for that version of you, not the version that's hyped and productive for 2 days, not the version that writes big plans at midnight, the version that is tired, busy, distracted, the version that still has to show up anyway. And when I say force discipline, I don't mean you should bully yourself. I don't mean you should crush your emotions or pretend you're a machine. I mean something calmer, stronger, and more honest. You stop negotiating with the part of you that always wants comfort first. You stop letting "I don't feel like it" become the final decision. You learn how to make action so small, so clear, and so automatic that your mood doesn't get a vote. Over the next 8 chapters, I'm going to give you practical switches, simple tactics you can use immediately. We'll talk about shrinking the task until it's too small to fail, removing friction from your environment so you're not relying on willpower, using 5-minute contracts when your mind wants to quit, building one daily anchor that protects your identity, and creating a disciplined system that doesn't depend on emotional energy. You'll also hear real-life examples, the kind that actually happen in normal homes with normal stress. A friend who couldn't stay consistent until he stopped aiming for perfect and started aiming for repeatable. Someone close to me who rebuilt their confidence not through big breakthroughs, but through tiny promises kept quietly, without applause. Because the goal isn't to become intense, the goal is to become steady. And if you can become steady, your life changes. Not all at once, but permanently. And the best part is this. Once you learn discipline, You don't have to keep finding yourself again and again. You simply return to your plan, like a person who keeps their word. So take a breath. You're not behind. You're not late. You're here. And that matters. And before we begin, if this speaks to you, think of one person, someone you care about who's stuck in the same loop. Starting, stopping, feeling guilty, giving up, repeating. Share this video with them, not as a lecture, not as pressure, just as a quiet message that says, I see you, and I found something that might help you come back to yourself. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. Discipline is not motivation. It's a switch. There's a moment that happens before you quit. It's small, it's quiet, and if you don't notice it, it decides your whole day. It's the moment you consider doing the thing, and your mind immediately offers a counteroffer. Not now. Later. Tomorrow will be better. You're tired. You deserve a break. It won't matter if you skip once. That moment is where discipline actually lives. Not in the gym, not in the finished work, not in the highlight reel. Discipline lives in the 2 seconds where you choose whether you'll obey comfort or obey your plan. Most people think discipline is a strong emotion, like motivation, but more intense. They imagine disciplined people feel something special. A fire, a certainty, a drive that never fades. But that's not what it looks like in real life. But in real life, discipline is often boring. It's often inconvenient. And on the hardest days, discipline doesn't feel powerful at all. It feels like you're moving through wet cement. So if you've been waiting to feel disciplined, you've been waiting for something that doesn't exist. Here's the truth. Motivation is weather. Discipline is a light switch. Weather changes. A switch is a decision. And the skill you're building in this audiobook isn't how to feel ready. It's how to flip the switch anyway, especially when your body is begging for comfort and your mind is selling you excuses that sound reasonable. The hidden rule: your body leads your mind. One of the biggest misunderstandings about self-control is that we try to solve it with thinking. We talk ourselves into action. We argue with ourselves. We attempt to convince our emotions. But your brain is not a courtroom where the best argument wins. On low-energy days, the part of you that wants comfort isn't logical. It's protective. It believes discomfort is danger, and it doesn't care how inspiring your goals are. That's why the first discipline switch is physical, not emotional. Move first. Think second. Even a small movement changes your state. It disrupts the loop of hesitation. It tells your nervous system, we are doing something now. I learned this the hard way in a season where I kept starting over. I would plan perfectly. New routines, new apps, clean schedules. And then I'd miss one day. That one day would become a week, and the shame would become a reason to avoid the habit entirely, because facing it felt like facing failure. What finally helped wasn't a better plan. It was a smaller, a more immediate command. Not be disciplined, not change your life. Just move, stand up, wash your face, open the document, put on the shoes. The goal was not to complete the whole task. The goal was to break the spell. The discipline switch. Decide to move to start. This chapter gives you a 3-step switch you can flip anytime you feel resistance. Decide, 10 seconds. Move, 10 seconds. Start, 60 seconds. That's it. No hype, no speeches, just mechanics. 1. Decide, 10 seconds. A decision is not a debate. It's a line. On the days you don't feel like it, your mind will try to negotiate. It will search for a loophole that feels fair. If you let yourself negotiate, you'll lose. Because comfort is an excellent lawyer. So you decide like a calm adult. I'm doing the next step. Not the whole workout. Not the entire chapter. Not the full routine. The next step. When your brain hears the whole thing, it panics. When it hears the next step, it relaxes enough to comply. 2. Move, 10 seconds. Movement makes the decision real. If you decide and then stay still, your mind will reopen the negotiation. Stillness gives excuses time to multiply. So you move immediately, something that shifts your body out of the rest pattern. Stand up, straighten your posture, put both feet on the floor, walk to the sink, walk to the desk. This is why disciplined people often have rituals. Not because rituals are magical, but because rituals remove choice. They create a physical pathway your body recognizes. A friend of mine used to struggle with consistency in training. He'd wait all day to feel in the mood to work out. Most days, that mood never arrived. Then he changed one thing. He made a rule that at 6:30 p.m., he would put on his gym shirt. No matter what. Even if he didn't train. Even if he was tired. At first, it sounded pointless, but within a week, the shirt became a switch. When the shirt went on, the argument ended. Some nights, he only did 10 minutes, but those 10 minutes kept his identity intact. And eventually, his body started craving the routine because it was familiar. That's discipline, a physical cue that ends negotiation. 3. Start, 60 seconds. Now you begin for 1 minute. 1 minute sounds too small to matter until you realize how many lives are ruined by the inability to start. Starting is the true bottleneck. So your only job is to begin a 60-second version of the task. If it's writing, write one messy paragraph. If it's reading, read one page. If it's working out, do one set. If it's cleaning, clear one surface. If it's studying, open the lesson and do one question. A lot of the time, you'll continue naturally after 1 minute. Not because you suddenly became motivated, but because momentum took over. And if you stop after 1 minute, you still won. Because you proved something priceless. Your feelings are not the boss. Why this works when you feel weak. When you feel low, your brain is trying to minimize effort and maximize comfort. If you demand a huge action, your brain rebels. But if you demand a tiny action, your brain can't justify the resistance. This is how you force discipline without self-hatred. You're not forcing your emotions to vanish. You're forcing your behavior to begin. And behavior is what changes your life. A person close to me once told me, I don't trust myself anymore. They didn't say it dramatically. They said it like a fact. They had broken their own promises so many times that even small goals felt fake. What rebuilt them wasn't a massive transformation. It was small promises kept daily, quietly. 2 minutes of movement, 1 page, 1 glass of water, 1 minute of starting. That's how trust returns, not through intensity, but through repetition. Your practice for today is, right after this chapter, do this once. Pick one task you've been avoiding. Say out loud, I'm doing the next step. Stand up and move to the place where the task happens. Set a timer for 60 seconds and begin. That's your rep. That's your training. To when tomorrow, you do it again. Because discipline isn't a personality you hope to have one day. It's a switch you practice flipping until it becomes normal. Until I don't feel like it becomes information, not instruction. You don't need to feel ready. You need to flip the switch. Chapter 2. Make it too small to fail. When people say they lack discipline, what they usually mean is this. They keep asking themselves to do something their nervous system can't reliably support. They set a goal that sounds impressive, but it isn't repeatable on a bad day. They aim for an ideal version of themselves, fully rested, highly motivated, perfectly focused. Then judge themselves for failing to live like that on a random Tuesday when life is messy and their energy is low. So the plan collapses. Then the guilt arrives. Then they start over, And after enough restarts, the mind begins to associate self-improvement with disappointment. This chapter is where we break that cycle. Because the fastest way to build discipline isn't to demand more from yourself. It's to design your actions so they become almost impossible to refuse. Your goal is not to make it big. Your goal is to make it inevitable. The minimum viable discipline, MVD. Here's the concept that changes everything. Minimum viable discipline is the smallest version of a habit that still counts as keeping your word. It's not the habit you do on your best day. It's the habit you can still do when you're tired, distracted, busy, stressed, or emotionally flat. It's the no excuses version. If your goal is working out, MVD might be 5 push-ups or a 7-minute walk. If your goal is reading, MVD might be 1 page. If your goal is writing, MVD might be 3 sentences. If your goal is meditation, MVD might be 1 minute of breathing. If your goal is learning a skill, MVD might be 1 tiny practice drill. This is how you force discipline when you don't feel like it. You make the starting cost so low that resistance looks ridiculous. And yes, your ego will fight this. Your ego will say, that's too small, that doesn't count, that won't change anything. But your ego is not trying to help you succeed. Your ego is trying to protect you from feeling not impressive. Discipline doesn't care about impressive. Discipline cares about repeatable. Why small works better than perfect. When you choose a habit that's too big, you create an all or nothing trap. If you can't do the full workout, you do nothing. If you can't do the full study session, you do 0. If you can't clean the entire room, you avoid starting. As then you get a streak of nothing and your brain learns, I don't follow through. Small habits avoid the trap because there is no dramatic failure. There is only progress. And here's the part most people miss. Small habits don't stay small. They grow when your identity grows. But they only grow if you keep them alive. Think of discipline like a fire. On a good day, you can add big logs. On a bad day, you add a small stick. The only rule is, don't let the flame go out. A real example, the 7-minute walk that changed everything. A friend of mine once told me he felt trapped in a loop. He would get inspired, go hard for a week, diet clean, work out intense, plan everything, then crash. One missed day would turn into, what's the point? And he'd disappear for a month. He thought his problem was motivation. It wasn't. So his problem was intensity without sustainability. So we made one change. We created his minimum viable discipline. After dinner, a 7-minute walk. That's it. No gym, no perfect macros, no new life, just a short walk. At first, it felt almost silly to him, but he agreed to treat it like a promise. 2 weeks later, he told me something surprising. I'm starting to trust myself again. Not because he became a new person overnight, but because he stopped breaking his word. Then the walk naturally became 12 minutes. Then he started adding light workouts on days he had energy. Then he started caring about food, not because he was forcing it, but because his body was already moving daily. That's how real discipline grows. Not through pressure, but through consistency. Not the 2-minute doorway. Technique. Here's a technique you can use for almost any habit. Make the first 2 minutes unbelievably easy. 2 minutes is a doorway. You're not committing to the whole task. You're committing to walking through the doorway. Once you're inside, continuing becomes much easier. Examples. Want to write? 2 minutes. Open the document and type anything. Want to study? 2 minutes. Open the lesson and read the first paragraph. Want to exercise? 2 minutes. Change into workout clothes and stretch. Want to clean? 2 minutes. Throw away trash in one corner. The point is not productivity. The point is compliance. When you can make yourself comply, you can make yourself consistent. the rule that protects your identity. Now we need a rule, a clear rule, a rule that ends negotiation. Here it is. Never set a daily goal you can't complete on your worst normal day. Not your worst crisis day, your worst normal day. The day where you slept badly, work drained you, and your mind feels foggy. If your daily goal requires high energy, it's not a daily goal. It's a when life is perfect goal, and that's a trap. So we design discipline around reality, not fantasy. This is the mature version of self-improvement, building a system that survives real life. But if it's small, will it really work? Let's answer this directly. Small actions work because they do three powerful things. They build the identity of follow-through. Every time you keep a promise, your brain updates its self-image. I'm the kind of person who does what I say. They reduce friction. If the task is tiny, your mind has fewer reasons to resist. Resistance needs a story. Small habits starve that story. They create momentum. Most of the time, so doing something small leads to doing more. But even when it doesn't, you still maintain the streak. And the streak matters because it protects your sense of self. A person close to me once said something that stuck with me. I don't want to be amazing. I just want to stop disappointing myself. That's the point. Discipline is not about becoming a superhero. It's about becoming reliable. Your practice for today. Design your MVD. Right now, choose one area where you keep starting and stopping. Then write your minimum viable discipline using this formula. Every day, even on bad days, I will do sans. For examples. Every day, I will walk for 7 minutes. Every day, I will read 1 page. Every day, I will do 5 push-ups. Every day, I will write 3 sentences. Every day, and I will meditate for 1 minute. Now the most important step. Make it so small you feel slightly embarrassed. Yes, embarrassed. Because that embarrassment is your ego realizing it can't hide behind excuses anymore. And once you have your MVD, add a simple trigger. After I brush my teeth, after I finish dinner, when I sit at my desk, when I put my phone to charge, your trigger turns your MVD into a system, not a hope. Chapter 3. Remove friction, not willpower. If you've ever told yourself, I just need self-control, I want you to consider a different possibility. Maybe you don't need stronger willpower. Maybe you need a smarter environment. Because willpower is expensive. It drains fast. And when you're tired, stressed, hungry, lonely, or overwhelmed, willpower becomes unreliable, like a phone battery at 3%. That's why some people look disciplined without seeming to suffer. They aren't battling themselves all day. They've quietly made it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. In other words, they don't rely on motivation, they rely on friction. Friction is the invisible effort required to start or stop a behavior. It's the distance between intention and action. If your gym clothes are buried in a drawer and the friction is high, if they're laid out on a chair, the friction is low. If your phone is on your bed, scrolling is effortless. If your phone is charging across the room, scrolling becomes a decision. Discipline becomes easier when the good choice is the easy choice. The truth about lazy. Most people label themselves lazy when they're actually just responding normally to high friction. Your brain is a convenience machine. It chooses the path of least resistance, especially when energy is low. That's not a character flaw. That's biology. So instead of asking, why am I so undisciplined? Ask a better question. What is making the disciplined action harder than it needs to be? Because the moment you solve that, your discipline jumps without you becoming a different person. And a simple story, the phone that stole a life. I've watched this happen in normal homes with normal people. Someone I know kept saying they couldn't focus, couldn't read, couldn't stick to routines. They felt guilty, like they were wasting their potential. But the real problem wasn't their character. Their phone lived in their hand. It was on the bed, on the couch, in the bathroom, at the table, always within reach. Every moment of boredom became a scroll. Every moment of discomfort became a dopamine hit. They weren't weak. They were outmatched by an environment built to keep them distracted. So we tried one small experiment. At night, the phone charges in another room. That's it. The first few nights felt uncomfortable, like something was missing. But within a week, something surprising happened. They started reading again. Not because they became motivated, but because the easiest option changed. Without the phone in reach, the brain chose what was available. This is what friction does. It doesn't demand heroic self-control. It changes defaults. The friction audit. Do this like a scientist. Here's the exercise that will make Chapter 3 real. Pick one habit you want to do consistently. Reading, studying, working out, writing, waking up earlier. Now ask two questions. What friction is making this habit harder? What friction can I add to the habit I'm trying to avoid? Let's make this practical. If you want to work out, lower friction, lay out clothes the night before. Keep shoes by the door. Choose a minimum workout you can do at home. Remove the decision of what to do, a simple routine list. Add friction to skipping. Commit to meeting someone, not pre-book a class. Put your workout time in a visible calendar. If you want to write or study, lower friction. Keep one document open and ready. Have your notes visible on the desk. Use a clean workspace with only essentials. Add friction to avoidance. Block distracting sites. Keep your phone in another room. Use full screen mode. If you want to eat better, lower friction. Prepare simple, healthy foods that are ready to grab. Keep water visible. Add friction to junk. Don't store it at home. Put it on a high shelf or hard-to-reach place. The principle is simple. Design the path. When the path is clean, your discipline looks strong. The one-touch rule for starting. Here's a rule I use when I feel resistance. Make the first action one touch away, not 5 steps away. 1. If you want to read, Sam, the book should be on your pillow or desk, not in a bag, not on a shelf, not in another room. If you want to journal, the notebook and pen should be open, visible, ready. If you want to exercise, your mat should already be unrolled. When the first step is immediate, you start before your brain has time to negotiate. And once you start, momentum takes over. Discipline, without drama. The if-then environment. A powerful way to remove thinking is to use if-then rules. If I finish dinner, then I walk for 7 minutes. If I sit at my desk, then I open my notes. If I wake up, then I drink water. This turns discipline into a script your body follows. Someone close to me used this when they were recovering from a rough season. They couldn't rely on motivation. It wasn't there. So they created tiny if-then rules around the house. A book by the bed, a water bottle on the counter, shoes by the door. No grand speeches, just cues. Within a month, they weren't fixed, but they were stable. And stability is where confidence begins. The 2-minute environment reset. If your life feels chaotic, don't try to redesign everything at once. Do this. Spend 2 minutes making tomorrow easier. 2 minutes. Put your gym clothes on a chair. Clear one spot on your desk. Charge your phone away from the bed. Put your book where you'll see it. This is discipline disguised as preparation. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. Because you're helping your future self. And helping your future self is one of the highest forms of self-respect. Chapter 4. The 5-minute contract. When motivation disappears, your mind starts speaking in absolutes. I can't do this today. I'm too tired. It's pointless if I can't do it properly. I'll restart tomorrow. Absolutes feel clean because they end the discomfort of deciding, but they also end progress. The 5-minute contract is how you keep moving without needing a heroic mood. It's a simple agreement. You will do the task for 5 minutes with full permission to stop afterward. No guilt, no self-hate, no dramatic promises. Just 5 minutes. This works because your brain fears commitment more than effort. A full workout, a full writing session, or a long study block can feel like captivity. 5 minutes feels survivable, and once something feels survivable, you can start. Here's the contract. Set a timer for 5 minutes and start the task in its easiest form. When the timer ends, choose stop or continue. Either way, you win. Because you kept your word, the key is honesty. You're not tricking yourself. You're building trust by proving you can make an agreement and keep it. I learned this during a season when my days felt heavy. I would sit down to work and feel resistance like a wall. On those days, any big plan sounded impossible, but 5 minutes sounded manageable. So I stopped trying to power through and started making contracts. Some days I did 5 minutes and stopped. My ego hated that. It wanted a bigger win. But over time, something changed. The shame decreased. The consistency increased. Because I was starting more often, I was finishing more often. A friend of mine had the same issue with exercise. He would either train hard or do nothing. And when he missed a day, he felt like he failed, so he avoided starting. We changed the rule. On low energy days, he owed himself 5 minutes. Only 5. His 5 minutes looked like this. Shoes on, step outside, walk to the end of the street and back. Most days, once he started, he kept going. But even when he didn't, the habit stayed alive. He stopped disappearing, and that was the real victory. The 5-minute contract teaches a deeper lesson. Discipline is not about intensity. It is about presence. If you can stay present, you can grow. There are 3 ways to use the contract, depending on your situation. First, 5 minutes to begin. This is for tasks you avoid starting: writing, studying, making a call, cleaning, planning. The goal is motion. Open the file, write the ugly first sentence. Read 1 page. Put 3 dishes away, or let momentum do what motivation won't. Second, 5 minutes to return. This is for days you already failed the habit. You skipped the morning, you wasted time, you made choices you regret. The contract becomes a reset. You don't wait for tomorrow. You return for 5 minutes today. That single act breaks the story that a bad day must stay bad. Third, 5 minutes to hold the line. This is for habits that keep you stable. Walking, stretching, journaling, meditation, language practice. 5 minutes keeps the identity intact. It tells your brain we are still the kind of person who shows up. Now, a warning. Your mind will try to sabotage the contract by demanding quality. It will say, if it's not perfect, don't bother. That is perfectionism wearing the mask of standards. On low motivation days, your only standard is this: show up. 5 minutes of imperfect action beats 0 minutes of perfect intention. Here's a rule that protects momentum. Never evaluate your life while you're in the first 5 minutes. In those minutes, you're still crossing the gap between resistance and motion. Judgment there is poison. Replace judgment with 1 phrase. Just complete the 5. If you feel numb or restless, pair the contract with a tiny ritual. 1 deep breath, shoulders back, eyes on the first step. Say, I don't need to want this. I only need to start for the next 5 minutes. Then begin the easiest version. The ritual is not magic. It's a cue that tells your brain the negotiation is over. Your practice today is simple. Choose 1 task you've been delaying. Make it smaller than your pride wants. Set the timer. Begin. When the timer ends, decide with respect. And if you continue, great. If you stop, still great. Because you kept the promise and trained the switch. Over time, these small contracts rebuild self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of discipline. When you trust yourself, you don't need constant motivation. You just do what you said you would do, one small agreement at a time. In the next chapter, we'll build on this by creating a single daily anchor, one habit that holds you steady even when everything else feels messy. Chapter 5. The one daily anchor. Some days will not cooperate. Your schedule breaks. Your mood drops. People need you. Problems show up. By the time you get a quiet moment, the day already feels lost. That is exactly why you need an anchor. An anchor is not a perfect routine. It is one small, non-negotiable practice that protects your identity when everything else is unstable. Think of it as proof that you still lead yourself. When you have an anchor, a bad day becomes a day with one win, not a day with zero. I used to treat discipline like an all-day performance. If I missed the morning, I felt behind. If I missed a workout, I told myself the day was ruined. That mindset creates fragile discipline because it depends on conditions. Real discipline is sturdier. It survives imperfect days. And so here is the shift. Stop trying to win the whole day. Win one moment every day. For many people, the best place for an anchor is the morning. Not because mornings are magical, but because they happen before the world starts pulling you in 100 directions. Yet, morning does not have to mean 5 a.m. It simply means the first available pocket of control. If you work nights, your anchor can be after you wake up in the afternoon. Timing matters less than ownership. Your anchor should be short. 10 to 15 minutes is enough. If you make it too long, you will skip it on busy days, which defeats the point. Remember, Chapter 2. Make it too small to fail. The anchor is not meant to exhaust you. It is meant to remind you who you are. Here is a simple anchor structure. 1 minute to return to your body. 5 minutes to move. 5 minutes to direct your mind. 1 minute to return to your body can be drinking water slowly, taking 10 deep breaths, or washing your face with attention. The purpose is to switch from autopilot to presence. 5 minutes to move can be stretching, a brisk walk, a few push-ups, or a short mobility routine. Movement signals leadership. It tells your nervous system we act even when we don't feel like it. 5 minutes to direct your mind can be journaling 3 lines, writing today's single priority, or reading 1 page of something that makes you steadier. This is where you choose your direction instead of letting the day choose it for you. A friend of mine used to say he had no time for discipline. 2 kids, a demanding job, and constant fatigue. He kept waiting for a free hour that never came. So we built an anchor that took 12 minutes, water, 10 squats, and 1 sentence in a notebook. Today, I will not disappear. Some mornings he hated it. Some mornings he rushed, but he did it anyway because it was small enough to survive real life. A few weeks later, he told me he felt less reactive and more in control, even on hard days. That is what an anchor gives you. It does not guarantee productivity, it guarantees continuity. Now your brain will try to bargain. It will say, "See, if I can't do the full routine, I won't do anything." This is where you protect the anchor with one rule. The anchor is never cancelled, only resized. If you have 10 minutes, do the full thing. If you have 5 minutes, do a smaller version. If you have 1 minute, do 1 deep breath and 1 clear decision. The identity stays intact. As you feel scattered, the anchor becomes your return point. You don't chase perfection, you just return. Return is discipline. Return is strength today. Resizing matters because discipline is an identity game. Every time you keep the anchor, You reinforce the belief, I am the kind of person who follows through. Every time you skip, you reinforce the opposite. So we remove the option to skip by making the anchor flexible. Now here is the sentence you repeat when your day feels chaotic. I will do my anchor, then I can deal with everything else. This is not denial. It is priority. You're placing yourself back in the driver's seat before the world grabs the wheel. Your practice today is to choose your anchor and make it visible. Write it down. Put the tools where you will see them. Decide the trigger. After I wake up, after I brush my teeth, after I make coffee. Then do it tomorrow, even if it feels small. Especially if it feels small. Because the point of an anchor is not to impress you, it is to stabilize you. And a stabilized you can build discipline without drama, one steady day at a time. Chapter 6. Never miss twice. Protect the chain. Protect the self. There is a silent moment after you miss a day. You skip the workout. You didn't study. You didn't write. And your mind offers a dangerous thought. Well, I already broke it. This is where most people lose discipline. Not on the first miss, but on the second. Missing once is normal. Life happens. Energy drops. Plans fall apart. But missing twice is when a slip becomes a pattern, and a pattern becomes an identity. The brain starts building a story. I'm not consistent. I never follow through. And once that story feels true, you stop trying, because trying feels like setting yourself up for disappointment. So here is the rule that saves discipline on real-life days. Never miss twice. Not never miss. That's perfectionism in a costume. The real goal is resilience. You're allowed to miss once. You are not allowed to disappear. This rule is powerful because it shifts your focus from performance to recovery. Discipline is not proven by how clean your routine is. It is proven by how fast you return. I learned this in a season when my motivation was unreliable. I would do well for a few days, then fall off. And every time I fell off, I treated it like evidence that I wasn't built for consistency. What I needed was a recovery protocol, something automatic that kicked in after a miss. Never miss twice became that protocol. Here's why it works. The second miss is rarely about time, it's about emotion. After the first miss, guilt and shame make the habit feel heavy. You don't want to face the thing you avoided because returning reminds you that you failed. So your mind offers a fresh start tomorrow. But tomorrow is a myth if you keep postponing the return. When you adopt the rule, you remove the myth. You don't ask, when will I restart? You ask, what is my smallest return next? You turn the comeback into a simple action, not a dramatic promise. A friend of mine used this with language learning. He kept quitting because he aimed for long sessions, then punished himself when he missed. We changed his system. His daily minimum was 5 minutes. And if he missed a day, the next day he didn't make up for it. He simply returned for 5 minutes. Within a month, the habit stopped feeling fragile. He told me, I'm not scared of missing anymore, because I know I'll be back. That's the mindset. You're not building a streak to prove your worth. You're building a chain to train your return. Every time you keep a promise, you deposit trust into your relationship with yourself. Every time you break a promise, you withdraw trust. If you withdraw too many times, you stop believing your own plans. And when you don't believe yourself, motivation can't save you, because motivation requires hope. Never miss twice protects hope. It says, I might wobble, but I don't collapse. Treat the return like brushing your teeth. Not a debate, not a punishment, just basic maintenance for the person you want to be today. Make a return version of your habit. A version so small it counts even on a bad day. If you miss your normal workout, your return workout might be 10 minutes of walking. If you miss writing, your return writing might be 1 paragraph. If you miss meditation, your return might be 5 breaths. The return version is not punishment. It's a bridge. It reconnects you to the identity of someone who shows up. And when you return, do not overcompensate. Overcompensation is another form of perfectionism. People miss a day, then try to do double the next day, then burn out, then miss again. The rule is return, not revenge. Steady, not extreme. To make this real, you need a trigger. The moment you notice a miss, you plan the return. Not later, immediately. You can say, I missed today. Tomorrow, I do the return version at 7 p.m. Or, I missed this morning. Tonight, 5 minutes. The clarity removes the emotional weight. If your mind says, but what if I miss again? Answer calmly. Then I return again. You are not proving you will never fall. You're proving you can stand back up quickly. Your practice today is to write 2 sentences. If I miss my habit once, son, I will return the next day with my return version. My return version is, make it specific, make it easy, then trust the rule. Because discipline is not a straight line, it's a series of returns, and the person you become is not defined by how perfect you are. You are defined by how reliably you come back. Chapter 7. Use emotion as fuel, not a steering wheel. Emotions are not the enemy. The problem is letting them drive. When you're tired, emotions say, rest. When you're scared, they say, avoid. When you're stressed, they say, numb out. Emotions are designed to protect you from discomfort, not to build the life you want. That's why disciplined people aren't emotionless. They treat emotions as information, not instruction. If you wait to feel confident, you won't act. If you wait to feel calm, you won't start. If you wait to feel motivated, you'll keep postponing. So the skill is simple. Acknowledge the emotion, then choose the next step anyway. I used to believe my inner state had to be right before I could perform. I told myself I needed the perfect mood to work, the right energy to train, the right clarity to plan. But real life doesn't offer perfect moods. It offers noise. And the people who grow are the ones who can move through that noise without negotiating with it. Someone close to me went through a season where anxiety made everything feel heavier. The smallest task felt dangerous. They tried to fight arguing with it, but arguing made it louder. What helped was simpler. Name it, breathe, and do the next small action while the anxiety stayed present. They didn't win by eliminating fear. They won by refusing to let fear choose their behavior. The 3-step emotional reset. Name to breathe to do. Use this the moment resistance appears. Name what you feel. Breathe to lower the intensity. Do the next tiny step. 1. Name it. When you name an emotion, you stop being fused with it. You create space. Say it like a report. I feel irritated. I feel restless. I feel anxious. I feel unmotivated. Do not add a story. No, because I'm failing. Just the label. Stories multiply emotion. Labels reduce it. 2. Breathe. You don't need a spiritual routine. You need physiology. Take 1 slow inhale through the nose and 1 slow exhale through the mouth. Do that 3 times. Drop your shoulders on the exhale. Breathing doesn't erase emotion. It lowers the volume so you can choose. 3. Do the next tiny step. Now you act, not to prove you're strong, but to keep your identity intact. The next step should be concrete and small. Open the laptop, put on the shoes, write the first sentence. Read 1 paragraph. You're not trying to feel better first. You're letting action create the possibility of feeling better, of the sentence that ends. Negotiation. On hard days, use this line, I feel, and I will still do, for 5 minutes. Examples. I feel tired, and I will still walk for 5 minutes. I feel anxious, and I will still write for 5 minutes. This sentence is powerful because it stops the false choice between feel good and do the work. It allows both realities to exist. You can feel bad and still act. A friend of mine used this during a busy period when his discipline collapsed. Each time resistance showed up, he repeated the line and started. Some days he only did 5 minutes, but the pattern changed. Resistance arrived, yet it no longer controlled the outcome. That's emotional mastery. Another way to think about it: emotion can be fuel, as long as it isn't the steering wheel. Anger can power a boundary. Frustration can power a focused sprint. Even doubt can power preparation. You don't deny what you feel. You harness it right now. The rule is, feelings may supply energy, but they don't get to write your schedule. If you can turn "I'm stressed" into "I'll do the next step to reduce stress," you transform emotion from a stop sign into a signal. Don't drive while emotion is spiking. One more rule: don't make big decisions inside a strong emotional wave. When you're angry, you want to burn things down. When you're sad, you want to quit. When you're excited, you want to commit to impossible plans. Strong emotion distorts time. It makes the present feel permanent. Discipline means you pause, regulate, then act on the plan you chose in a calmer moment. So if you're in a spike, shrink your world to one next step. Not a full plan. One step. Mark your practice for today. Train the reset once on purpose. Pick one task you don't feel like doing. Then, name: I feel blank. Breathe. 3 slow breaths. Do. 5 minute task. You're training the ability to move with emotion in the passenger seat, not the driver's seat. The goal isn't to kill your feelings. It's to stop letting them choose your life. Chapter 8. The Discipline Engine. Make action. Automatic. By now you've heard the same truth from different angles. Discipline isn't a personality trait. It's structure, and structure wins on the days your emotions refuse to cooperate. So in this final chapter, we're going to build what I call your discipline engine, a simple loop that makes action easier than overthinking. It has 3 parts: plan, to trigger, to reward. If you build this loop correctly, you won't need to force yourself with pressure. You'll force discipline with design. And design is calmer, cleaner, and far more reliable. 1. Plan. One clear sentence. Most people fail at discipline because their plan is vague. Vague plans invite negotiation. I'll work out sometime. I should read more. I need to focus. Those are hopes, not plans. And a real plan is one sentence that a tired version of you can still follow. After dinner, I'll walk for 7 minutes. At 8 a.m., I'll write for 5 minutes. Before bed, I'll read 1 page. Notice what's missing. Drama. There's no promise of transformation. There's only a clear next action. Here's the rule: your plan must fit your lowest energy day, not your best day. Because discipline isn't proven when life is easy. It's proven when life is normal. If your plan requires high motivation, it will collapse the moment you're stressed. So keep it small. Make it repeatable. Let repetition do what motivation can't. 2. Trigger. The start button that ends. Debate. Even a good plan fails if it relies on memory. You don't need to remember to be disciplined. You need a start button, a trigger that automatically tells your brain, now. There are 3 trigger types. Pick one. Time trigger. At 7:30 p.m., I start. Event trigger. After I brush my teeth, I start. Location. Trigger. When I sit at my desk, I start. Event triggers are often the strongest because they attach your new habit to something you already do. That means the habit doesn't depend on your mood. It depends on the event. Examples. After I finish dinner, I put on shoes. I walk. After I make coffee, I open my notebook. I write 3 sentences. After I shower, I stretch for 2 minutes. When I plug my phone to charge, I read one page. Your trigger is a boundary. It removes the question, should I do it? The answer becomes automatic. This is what happens next. Someone close to me used this when they were rebuilding after a rough period. Motivation was gone, self-trust was low, and their mind kept saying, what's the point? So they chose one event trigger. After washing their face, they sat down and breathed for 1 minute. That was it. 1 minute. It didn't fix everything instantly, but it gave them something more important than a perfect day, a reliable return. A small act that said, I still lead myself. 3. Reward. Make your brain want to repeat it. People either ignore rewards or choose rewards that sabotage them. The goal of a reward is simple. Teach your nervous system that showing up is safe and worth repeating. Not with a sugar high, not with self-destructive indulgence, just a clean, immediate signal of completion. Good rewards are small and direct. A hot shower, a cup of tea or coffee, 10 minutes of music, a short walk outside, checking a box on a tracker, texting a friend. Done. You might think this is childish. It's not. Mark, it's human. Your brain learns through loops. Cue, action, reward. If there's no reward, the habit feels like punishment, and you'll unconsciously avoid it. But there's also a deeper reward that eventually becomes the strongest one. Self-respect. That quiet sense of, I did what I said I would do. That's the reward that changes your identity. Build the loop. Make it real. Make it physical. Let's build one complete discipline engine right now. Plan. After dinner, I walk for 7 minutes. Trigger. Dinner ends arrow shoes go on immediately. Reward. Shower plus check the box. Or for focus, plan. When I sit at my desk, I write for 5 minutes. Trigger. Sitting down arrow, open the document first. Reward. Tea plus one song. Notice the power here. The loop reduces thinking. It reduces friction. It replaces motivation with sequence. And that's what discipline really is. A sequence you follow even when you don't feel like it. The backup engine. Your bad day version. Now we make this system survive real life. Because you will have bad days. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. So you need a backup engine. Your minimum viable discipline. This is the version you do when your energy is low, your time is limited, or your emotions are loud. Examples. Walk 3 minutes. Read 1 page. Write 3 sentences. Do 5 push-ups. Breathe for 60 seconds. Here's the rule. Your backup keeps the chain alive. It protects never miss twice. It protects identity. It protects momentum. Bad days don't destroy discipline. Disappearing does. Your 7-day blueprint for the next week, choose 1 habit, not 5. 1. Or write it like this. Main engine plan, trigger, reward, backup engine, bad day version. Minimum, trigger, reward. Then commit to 1 thing. Follow the loop, not perfectly, just repeatedly. And here's my personal closing perspective as the writer of this audiobook. You don't become disciplined by becoming harsher. You become disciplined by becoming clearer, by removing debate, by shrinking the task, by building a loop that holds you steady when your feelings don't. That's what it means to force discipline, quietly, consistently, and without needing to feel ready first. If you've made it to the end of this audiobook, I want you to pause for a moment, not to celebrate in a loud way, but to recognize something quietly important. You showed up. And that matters more than people think, because the real opposite of discipline isn't failure. It's disappearance. It's the slow habit of stepping away from your own life the moment it becomes uncomfortable. What we built together in these chapters was never about becoming a perfect person. It was about becoming a reliable person, someone who can keep moving even when motivation is gone, even when emotions are loud, even when the day doesn't cooperate. And maybe the most valuable is this: you don't need to feel ready to act. You don't need to feel confident to begin. You don't need to feel motivated to follow through. You only need a system that helps you take the next step. Think back to where you started, that heavy feeling, the resistance, the inner negotiation that happens before you quit. The part of you that whispers, "Not today." We didn't try to kill that voice. We didn't try to pretend you'll never feel it again. Instead, we gave you tools that work while the voice is still there. You learn to flip the switch. Decide, move, start. You learn to make discipline too small to fail. You learn to remove friction instead of begging for willpower. You learned the 5-minute contract, how to keep your word without forcing intensity. You built an anchor that keeps you steady on messy days. You adopted the rule that protects real consistency, never missed twice. You practiced treating emotions as fuel, not a steering wheel. And you built a discipline engine, a plan, a trigger, a reward, so action becomes automatic. That's not just information, that's a new way of living. Because discipline isn't something you have, it's something you practice, and every practice is a vote for the person you're becoming. Here's the truth most people don't want to accept. There will always be days when you don't feel like it. There will always be a part of you that wants comfort first, that wants the short path, that wants relief right now. That part of you isn't evil. It's human. But you're not here to be ruled by the easiest impulse. You're here to build a life you respect. And self-respect isn't built in one dramatic moment. It's built in small moments that no one applauds. It's built when you do the thing you said you would do, quietly, without needing a perfect mood. So I want to leave you with a simple challenge for the next 7 days. Not a 30-day transformation, not an intense reboot, just 7 days of proof. Pick one habit, one. Choose your minimum viable discipline. Attach it to a trigger, give it a clean reward, and most importantly, if you miss once, return the next day. Never miss twice. 7 days won't make you perfect, but it will do something better. It will make you believable to yourself again. And that is everything, because when you trust yourself, you stop needing motivation to rescue you. You stop relying on bursts of inspiration that vanish. You stop living in cycles of hype and guilt. You become steady. You become calm. You become the person who doesn't negotiate with comfort when it's time to do what matters. If this audiobook helped you, then I want you to do one thing that's bigger than a like or a comment. Think of one person, someone you care about, who's stuck in the loop. Starting, stopping, feeling ashamed, repeating. Someone who keeps trying to change but keeps disappearing. Share this with them, not to pressure them, not to prove a point, but to offer a bridge. A quiet message that says, "I see you, and you don't have to do it alone." And to you, remember this. Discipline is not punishment. It's not deprivation. It's not a harsh personality. Discipline is the way you protect your future self. It's the way you keep your promises. It's the way you return to your life. So when you don't feel like it tomorrow, don't wait for the feeling to change. Flip the switch. Do the small version. Keep the chain alive. And over time, without drama, you'll look back and realize something incredible. You didn't become disciplined all at once. You became disciplined one quiet choice at a time. Now go make that next choice.
We always recommend Shopify. It took us from an idea to a real business. We got set up, I think, in less than a day with very little effort, no prior experience needed. We could just focus on the supply chain to the product. As we grow, Shopify gives us the ability to customize without the complexity. We can change something without introducing fragility or having to pay a developer. And as a startup, that's so valuable. We're Thirsty Turtle, and we leveled up our business with Shopify.